right, welcome back everyone to another episode of Startup Fuck Up. Today I have a good friend of mine, Tai Kwong, who is joining me from his company Psych2Go. I got to know Tai back in, I think, close to 2015 or 2014, back when I was getting back into the startup ecosystem, and we started to build our networks to look for more like-minded entrepreneurs. And Tai stood out to me because he was very hungry, very ambitious, and also very humble at the same time. So we became friends, and then we've kind of been looking over each other's shoulders over the last few years and learning from each other. So very glad to have you here on the show today. Tai, welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us a bit about Psych2Go.
So nice to meet everyone. I'm honored to be on Chin's podcast because, as Chin mentioned, we've been kind of looking through each other's shoulder a lot, providing each other network support, and even like help along the way. So I'm really honored to be on Chin's podcast. My name is Tai, and you can just call me Tai for short. Some people spell it Thai, but aside from the spelling, it's just there's only one way to really pronounce my name. So I run a company called Psych2Go. Initially, it started as a kind of hobby because I was studying psychology back in my university year. And as you guys know, right, most of the high school here doesn't offer psychology as a course. So when I was first exposed to psychology back in uni, this was around my second semester, and I took the intro psychology course, and man, was my mind kind of blown away because these were the stuff I feel like needed to be taught in school, especially during your adolescence. Because when I was taking this course in uni, it addressed so many questions I had about upbringings, why I was introverted. So for those who doesn't know, I'm very introverted. And one reason I connected with Chin so well is because we both told each other we're introverts at one point or another. And I think as introverts, we have this thing of like a lot of self-reflection, but also we tend to hold back from like talking to people as much, and because we get drained, or battery life is just really like it gets drained really low easily. So when I learned about concepts like introversion, extroversion, family dynamics, social conformity, and all these stuff, it addressed a lot of questions I had about the way I was, and I felt this sense of relief. So one day I just thought, hey, why not blog about this? Why not make articles about it on my Tumblr blog? At that time, Tumblr was a micro blogging platform that's blowing up. And since those days, it transitioned to a YouTube channel. So, and then now we have over 10 million subscribers and over 1 billion views in our last 4 years alone. And we're currently on the mission of raising people's awareness of mental health, mental wellness, and psychology. And we're just so grateful that we got to continue what we are doing and also bring on friends, um, people around us, and also like just a lot of amazing people. So I'm really honored. Like even today's podcast, I would not have been here if I wasn't building Psych2Go.
Mhm. Amazing. Definitely been quite a journey to see you go on all the way from the Tumblr blog to the amazingly huge YouTube channel that you have right now. Um, Today's topic is somewhat related to psychology. We were going to talk a bit about dating and romance in our personal lives and how it bleeds into and affects our business as well. I think off the record, you talked to me a bit about kind of the first relationship you went through, or at least the relationship you were in, that kind of led to you starting Psych2Go as well. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, that was an interesting story. So it was more of a backstory. That I was not in a relationship, but what
Mm.
happened was in my I think it was my second year. It was kind of like my first crush because at that time I was like, hey, I'm in that phase of my life where I think I'm ready to pursue a relationship, and I was around like 19. So back in high school, I was just focusing like hardcore studying, trying to get into medical school, trying to get into UBC. And at that time, I didn't think about dating. So even when like there were hints from people, I didn't pick up on that. But when I was in my second year of uni, I was like, okay, I think I'm at that age. I'm ready to pursue this thing called relationship. And I met someone who was in my one of my class, and I was looking for someone that kind of had a similar background as me in terms of my single parent, my mom being a single mom. So I when I met this person, I was like, wait, it's actually the first person I met that has a single mom at that time. So I kind of connected with this person. And I guess I don't know if it's okay. Like I'm not disclosing this person, so I guess it's okay. But later on, when I confessed, it turns out that she was actually a lesbian, meaning she was only attracted to girls, and that led me to further like want to understand more about like the sexuality side of psychology, and also in terms of like Tumblr was also a well-known community for people on with different sexual orientation, and it just became kind of like a place for me to further explore what is this concept of homosexuality. And I guess from there, I through psychology and also through the Tumblr blog, it inspired me to also raise awareness about this and to also be open-minded and also to promote everything about psychology, sexuality as well, and also promote a community where people feel comfortable opening up, whether it's about the challenges with who they are or whether it is challenges with like just understanding themselves or like finding a community that can connect with them. So I think because of this, it led to Psychical being originating from Tumblr, because it has such a strong community at that time. Already, we had like almost 1 million followers on Tumblr within like the first 2 years when we launched the brand site to go officially. And then at that time, someone just wanted like online content, and I guess it led to that. And I guess throughout that period of me trying to understand more about sexuality and also trying to understand more about psychology and also trying to understand myself and also trying to promote like this community of people who can openly talk about things they're experiencing. It became a mission of mine to expand this as much as possible. So from helping myself to understanding the situation my crush at that time was going through, and to also like better like create acceptance from people. I think Cytical has such a powerful mission at that time. So I'm really grateful. Like it was in general, it was not a relationship to clarify. It was more like, you know, those early crush where you just feel like, oh, this person has a similar background to you, but then you didn't know they were going through so much. So at the time you just wanted to support in any way you can, whether it means being on the side, doing it from far away. Like I just wanted to create a place where people will accept other people who might be going through something similar. So
that's amazing and very inspiring, because what I'm also noticing here is that for every relationship, even if it's a non-relationship or even if it's a failed relationship, there is some value add that is given to you regardless of the outcome of the relationship itself. Like in this case, it was an indirect value add for you to help you become a bit more open-minded, to help you pursue that direction of inclusion, of really understanding more about, you know, what sexual orientation is, and making it kind of the like you say, part of that mission to spread that awareness about it as well. So I think it's really interesting to see the influence that others can have on us as well. I don't think that either of us are experts to talk on the topic of relationships. Like in my case, I'm married and I've only been in one relationship ever since I started my business. So me and my wife have been dating since 2009. And Tai, like you're still not committed right now. You're still single right now. You've been through, I guess, probably a few relationships since then. Like, can you tell us a bit about how many, or some of the relationships you've been in since starting a business? Kind of what has it been like? What kind of outcomes came out of it?
yeah, I think like whether you're in a relationship or not, like the impact of just having care for someone else can really be motivation to give you a purpose of what you do. So I think in one way or another, relationships, whether it's with a romantic partner or with your family or with like friendships, I think they always influence our purpose in life. Because like life is kind of like holistic. So and relationship can be one of those things that either guides you along the way, helps you expedite what you're doing, or it can be one of those things that holds you back. But at the end of the day, navigating the people around you and yourself is so important. And I guess I've only actually been in two relationships, but you know, like I'm already in my 30s, early 30s. So you have questions here and there along the way, but whether it's in a relationship or not, they all contribute to your motivation. So I guess like when I was actually in an actual relationship, at that point, I was already quite successful in terms of, I wouldn't say measure success by how much money I'm making, but at that point, I was already in a very good place mentally.
Mm,
My business was thriving. I was mentally fired up to achieve even more. I was like to go. I was building a team. I was connecting with them every single day. And you have these habits you built up to sustain where you're going. I guess once you add the factor of a relationship in, it does start to play around with your routine. So the impact I had were both positive and negatives.
mm,
Some positives were like you have someone who can enrich your life in other areas that's not business related. So you do like you go on dates, you discover new places, you think about how to incorporate the other person in your routine. You think about like whether pursuing your business is or your mission is going to jeopardize the relationship. And then the cons is it I mean like the con for me at least is it did affect me in both negative and positive ways. So
mm,
negative was I kind of follow the flow strategy when it comes to work. So for me, I kind of lost a bit of the flow. So because it's a learning curve, right? So one drawbacks I had an actual relationship too late. So I lost my momentum, business was falling, I wasn't connecting with my team as much, and I was not like too invested in what I was doing. And that was a con. So the same thing kind of happened for my second relationship. But my second relationship taught me a lot more because we were both able to communicate and we were both able to kind of work through this difficulty I was having when it comes to managing both my purpose, which is expanding Psychical as much as possible, and not just that, but managing a team, ensuring their goals, their dreams, and my promises to them are held up. I was at least able to communicate with my partner, and my partner supported me a lot when it came to like, okay, so let's set up some structure. Let's find a time where we're gonna work. Let's use a schedule. Let's let's set up a schedule. Let's get some mentorship. Let's find a workplace we can go to. We can. So I had more support there. So I mean, like it's challenges were the same, but I guess I learned to the impact of relationship on business for me has been pros and cons, and I'm still in that stage trying to even navigate this. Even till this point, I'm choosing to stay single because I feel like I'm not in that mental framework to really be at a place where I can be so invested in the mission side to go and still have a relationship where I'm able to truly be attentive to my partner because
mm.
like it's hard. So I really admire you, Chin, for like being married, having a business, having a family, and that's why I really love kind of live through you vicariously and seeing you have kids now and kind of wish to myself also that could also potentially be my life as well. So I'm also learning and I'm still in that phase where I'm still haven't booked through like how do you navigate relationship and still stay on course with your mission and not mess up kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't claim to be in a perfect relationship as well. I don't think there's ever such a thing as a perfect relationship, no matter how much people try to glorify it on social media and whatnot. Um, I think at the end of the day, like one thing that I notice you mentioning is, every relationship has its pros and cons. Like it has a positive and negative impact on whatever you're doing. And to backtrack a little bit, one person's pros and cons might be different from another person's pros and cons. So maybe, for example, in your case, you saw that it was, making you slow down. Like in some cases, maybe someone else might find that as something that's beneficial because maybe it's better work-life balance or something else, right? Out of curiosity, are you aware of what your personal values are? Kind of like what do you think are your top three values? What do you care about and how do you operate?
Yeah, those are great questions because that's exactly what my mentor did for me. So I have some amazing mentors in my life and friends as well. So values always came back to the problems I was dealing with is the relationship supporting my values. So I wrote down like five values, but the three that I have top on the top of my head was growth, meaning like both partners, whether it's together or not, you kind of have to really grow in some way. And sometimes growth can be can actually go in the opposite direction, not gonna lie. I mean,
Mhm.
it can go in a negative direction where you pick up bad habits. So that's considered like negative growth, right? But at some point you would fix it. That's growth too. But looking at just growth like in an immediate sense, I'm looking for growth where you both feel good. You feel like you're both picking up positive habits, whether it's getting coaching, whether it's taking exercise together, which is something what relationship can do for you. It encourages you to pick up other habits beside your work. And then other positive growth is that you both pick up a new hobby. Like it could be one person doing video work or the other person picking up like learning to sing or something. So it's just like habits that gets built on top of what you're already doing. And it can be
Mhm.
habits that's built directly in the business. Doesn't have to be, but growth is something that I feel is super important.
Mhm.
And then the second is synergy, kind of ties in with growth. Is almost like the idea of, are you like, even though you can both be growing, are you both like reinforcing, empowering each other?
Mhm.
So for example, um, I know that sometimes you don't want a partner to kind of fit your perfect ideal image of who you want them to be.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I feel like for relationships, maybe you can share your experience as well, is I feel like there's this quote that I kind of stand by. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Mhm.
Meaning that if both you and your partner are growing, but you're not helping each other kind of go to the next stage, then technically in the long run, when you have other responsibilities that comes into your life, there's no way you can keep growing in a very aggressive way like you used to be. So you need a partner that somehow supports you during those low moments, those moments where you might not be able to grow as much. You need a partner that empowers you, that motivates you, that inspires you. So maybe
Mhm.
through watching what they're doing, pursuing, you feel like, oh shit, I need to step up my game. I need to be doing more. I need to be hustling. I need to be more disciplined. I need to be more fired up. So I think synergy is where you and your partner somehow you inspire each other and you
Mhm.
empower each other. So that's important. You can have growth, but if you don't have someone to pull you up during those low moments, then that's not helpful either. So
Mhm.
synergies, like aspects of your life, kind of bring each other up. So,
Mhm.
and then yeah, and then third is just values overall. Like, do we both stand for the same kind of thing? Values. Do we share the same values, or we are in alignment with having business as part of our life,
Yeah.
or or does one person prefer a 9 to 5 in the future and staying at home only, or kind of just having future outlook kind of be similar. So yeah, love to hear your thoughts too. But yeah, that's
It,
definitely
yeah, interesting. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's also one of my personal mantras as well. Um, and yeah, I think that resonates with me because for me, one of my personal values is also growth. But what I find with a relationship is, again, I don't proclaim that I know it all on this aspect. Um, One is whether you can have that synergistic relationship where you're both helping each other grow, both contributing and motivating each other. But also in some cases, like I would say in my relationship, what I found that has been beneficial at sometimes is that we kind of are able to help each other by kind of allowing each other to manifest some of our values when otherwise, if we were alone, we might not have been able to. So I'll give one example to that. So um, because my wife is willing to take the sacrifice to work a 9 to 5 job, I'm able to take a bit more risk and jump into the business side of things and, not have that income stability, but at the same time, being able to be flexible around work hours, being flexible around when the pay comes in, and still be able to raise a child and family together. So it's not to say that she isn't hungry for growth, but she's able to support me such that I can spend more of my time to pursue the things that I enjoy pursuing. And then likewise, I try to do in kind for her as well. So I think in some cases it doesn't need to be a perfect complementary, but if they are able to bring out the best in you, I think that's also a good characteristic in a relationship.
yeah, that's amazing. That's why I really admire the relationship you have, and now even having kids, because not a lot of people get married and then right away have kids. So I really admire that you guys have this synergistic kind of routine kind of already sorted out. And I think when you have one partner where the other partner can pursue what they want to pursue while one person takes care of the kids is a really ideal environment to be in, especially when you're planning to have kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean
Boy,
that yeah.
even
Mhm.
on that front, I think that there is a lot of sacrifice to be made. Like I was just talking to you before the call that because we are immigrants here in Canada and we don't have parents here, it is quite challenging to raise two children on our own without the in-laws or without the parents around. So like the blessed thing about Canada is the Canadian government does a pretty good job taking care of us. You know, the EI program is
Mhm.
quite generous with up to 18 months of parental leave. So with that in place, it allows us to have a bit more flexibility around the house in terms of running the business. But I've seen my wife take a lot of sacrifices that I I would say I don't envy. She's had to do a lot of work around the house while I'm busy with business, while I'm busy on calls. Um, but of course, I try my best to help her out as well whenever I can. Um, but yeah, just being in the kind of situation where you have someone who can support you while you try to do some things because there's only so much you can do in a given time. And when I say that as well, I also mean that, you know, when you say like we got married and then we had kids right away, in some cases, you know, if you plan on having children, there is a certain timeline that you kind of have to meet, especially for the females, because the older you get, the riskier the pregnancy will become as well. So most women will want to have children before the age of 35. So
Mhm.
for us, we always wanted to have at least two kids, so our kids would never be lonely. So you know, it made sense. Like, okay, after we got married, we had a certain amount of time to try to conceive. So yeah, that was our situation, but we kind of try our best to work with what we have, and I don't think we will ever have all the answers, and I don't think I'm a perfect parent as well. Um, but I trust that if you go into it with the right mindset, even if you don't have all the answers, you'll be able to figure it out anyways. So that's kind of my approach to life.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think like you are alluding to is when you and your partner are willing to work on something, that's kind of like one of the key to a successful relationship and also having growth either together or individually. I think that communication is vital to your success in both like work and relationship and yeah, I know your wife made a lot of sacrifices and well it's really important to have a good wife too, and I think you found it the most amazing wife that a man could possibly ask for. I guess like for myself, if I can meet my future girlfriend or significant other is willing to I don't know, because at the same time my conflict is I want both of us to grow, right? So I'm kind of
Mm,
worried in the sense that if she compromises herself, like whether it means giving up school or whether it means giving up a career that she wants to pursue to 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 take care of the kids or to support me, I'm
yeah.
kind of worried that they're not growing. So the conflict is it does go against the value I have initially, which is both not just me, but both individuals have to grow, right?
Yeah, this one is quite interesting, and I'm curious to dig a bit deeper into that. So,
Yeah, me
you
too.
know, in my situation, I have a wife who is I wouldn't say I don't know if it's the right way to say it, but I do at times feel that she's less ambitious than I am. Like she's more willing to be that stay-at-home mom kind of situation. Not that she wants to be a stay-at-home mom. Like she definitely has some career goals that she has. Um, but generally, and again, maybe I might be stereotyping, or I don't want to categorize just as a black or white kind of situation, but you tend to have certain women who are more kind of type A. Like they're go-getters. They want to be like the future CEOs, the kind of um the next big thing kind of ambitious woman. And then on the other side, you have the more homemaker kind of woman. Again, like it's not two buckets, it's obviously more of a spectrum. But I'm curious, like, which way do you lean more? Like, do you think it might be more beneficial for you as a person, but also for your business to have a significant other who is more ambitious, more driven, or someone who is a bit more laid back, a bit more, you know, stable, more secure, more focused on the family aspect of things? Which do you lean more towards?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I hope that this can also be of value to viewers as well. Maybe viewers can chime in because this is what I'm trying to figure out as well. Is like it's true, like some individuals are more like type A and some individuals are more like type B, and this is where psychology, like learning about psychology becomes helpful because you understand what type A and type B is. So like it's been a while since I refreshed my knowledge about psychology, but with that knowledge in mind, I think because both my relationship, I think they were like one of them was type B, the other was type A, but at the same time, it's kind of like because my values were about growth, I try in a sense both consciously and subconsciously mold them into like type A. So getting them to be go-getters, getting them to pursue something even more. If I see something that's kind of missing in terms of like having a higher dream, having a different medium or strategy to get to a point, like let's say they want to become someone who can make a huge difference to the world. And I noticed that maybe like they're still doing the micro level things. Like
Mm,
wouldn't say school is necessarily a bad thing, or but if there are other ways to impact the world in a scalable way, especially with the digital age, why not do that? Why have to go through the long process of like going through school or the long process of like learning about how to help people? Let's say you want to be a coach, for example, right? Someone could be want to be a coach. And
mm,
some people think to be a coach, you need to be like an expert. You need to have read up on everything about the subject matter. You need to have like coach a lot of people. But why not just start it right away and learn as you go? The same way with your podcast, the same way with me starting Site to Go. I was still a student at that time. If I went through the same thinking process, I might have like not even built it because I was getting a lot of criticisms as well. So going back to like the would you prefer a partner that's super ambitious or a partner that's kind of like okay with like just having the family life? Um, I think with my values being growth, I think it does stand in the way of like what I look for in a relationship. Like maybe
mm.
raising family is a sense you can grow and because being a good parent is also something you do to grow as well. Learning to be a parent is not easy. And in that sense, they're growing too. But in the sense of like your business, having someone there to support you, to push you, to understand what's going on, that was something I wanted. And maybe that was a very reason that held me back because
Mm,
maybe I could have defined growth another way. I could have defined growth as a partner who's learning to be a better partner, a partner who's like wants to have a family. Maybe it's okay even if they pursue 9 to 5, as long as they're doing their best to be a better partner, to be a better parent, to be a better individual. Growth could be just that. So I limited growth to the definition of like entrepreneurship. So I feel like people are growing in different ways. Like you
yeah.
mentioned, yeah. So I think at the end of the day, you gotta find out like what is it that they consider valuable to them and what are their values, and then you help them grow in that area. If you still have that kind of like you want to kind of push your partner in that direction, so you gotta keep in count
Mhm.
what do they want, and that was what I failed in.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. And I don't think that, or I don't mean to put you in a position where you feel that you have the a wrong approach to growth or how you look for those values in your partner, because I think at the end of the day, like there's no wrong or right answer. In some cases, people might feel like they enjoy the company of that type A person because they can feed off that same energy as well. But then on the other side of the picture, maybe some people feel like they need that stability so that they're able to take bigger risk because they have that the other partner who is at home looking after the family, looking after kids. So I don't think there's either a good or bad approach to this, and it's just different strokes for different folks. Um, Shifting gears a little bit, kind of thinking about the impact of relationship on business. I'm curious on when you were in those relationships, and I'll definitely share my perspective as well.
mhm.
Is as you're in a relationship, how do you kind of set the boundaries and kind of, what you decide to compromise on, what you decide to be firm on, in and around how you operate your business? in around both maybe your schedule, around how you deal with finances. I'm curious to hear some of your aspects around that kind of quote unquote work-life balance piece of thing.
Yeah, I was terrible. I was so terrible at that idea of work-life balance. So when I go into a relationship, I'm almost like 100% in. I would like start my business almost completely. And then a month later, I'll be like, wait, my team needs me, the business needs me, my community needs me. Why am I sacrificing them when there are actual people on the other end of the email or message saying they need help, they want a certain topic or content, or they're waiting for you to even approve of the job position. There are people on the other end kind of waiting on you. So for me, I had a really terrible kind of self-discipline. And what I learned through my relationship, especially my second one, is that at the end that you mentioned is having boundaries, right? So and staying firm on some things you have to do, right? So for me, some of those things I have to do as I started to recognize is I needed to exercise at least an hour every day. So this means going running, or this means having some alone time where I can reflect on the things I need to do to kind of get into that flow state.
Mhm.
And then other things were like I need at least 2 hours of work time, um, like at a coffee shop or somewhere to just complete all my emails, all my messages, all the things that needs my attention. And then I need and my current workflow is more so where I would work for 2 hours, then I take a break for an hour, then I go to another coffee shop and I work for like another 2 hours. And if my energy is still there, I would repeat that cycle that night after. So so when I was in a relationship, obviously this is not sustainable, especially when I guess another thing that might impact might make play a role in my future decision making process when choosing a partner is choosing a partner who also has like something that occupies a lot of their time. So
Mm.
maybe like they have a 9 to 5, or they're taking care of kids, or they're going to school, or they're busy with something, because then that time you can use towards your work, right? So
Mm.
unfortunately for me, both my partners were very free in a sense. So I kind of had to find things to do together. And
Mm.
though I enjoy it so much, like it's probably one of the best times of my life. I had a really good experience. Was growing a lot. My partner was also very kind in a way to free up their time, even when they should focus on other things to kind of spend with me. So I am grateful for that. But I learned after this relationship is maybe in the future I need a partner that has something that occupies. That's why I mentioned like growth is important and the value, because I notice people who are focused on growth, they will have something to schedule that takes up a lot of their time, whether it means working out for 2 hours,
Mhm.
whether it means like going for a run for an hour, whether it means like going to class or something, or whether it means working a 9 to 5. Like they have to have something that is keeping them the same way with me, because I'm very growth oriented. I would
Mhm.
have like when I wake up, I need to spend 2 hours working out. If I don't, I would feel like really terrible throughout the day. Or I after that, I need to have my own meditation or self alone time to kind of okay plan out this is what I'm going to do for the rest of the hours, and then I need to actually have time to follow through. And I unfortunately, it's hard when you don't really have a partner that is occupied.
Mm.
So for me, I it might have just been a mismatch in terms of like where we were in our life, but I think that impact always comes down to like communicate. Like you just gotta communicate with your partner,
Mhm.
and you gotta learn to draw your boundary, and you gotta have that self-discipline. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have a lot of self-discipline, but I had a really great team. So my team, my friends, kept the company going. And I think if you plan to date, um, you plan to have other responsibilities, uh, and let's say your partner is also an entrepreneur and they're a go-getter, and you both might not be able to be present with the family, then it's
Mm.
important that you have a team or other people to support you along the way. And I was very fortunate to have teams that are not just my partners, my employees, but they're also friends and as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I think that perception I've noticed kind of evolves as a relationship matures as well over time, and also depending on where you are in kind of the courting phase. Um, at least my 2 cents on it is, when you're single, or at least if I reflect back on the time that I was single, a lot of when you're single, like you tend to find it quite easy to put yourself in a mental state that is not very healthy. You tend to sometimes fall into depression, you feel a bit lonely, and then that also saps away from your energy, and it's unproductive time. Even though you have a lot of time, you just end up moping around and you're not doing the best work that you can do. So in some cases, like having a spouse or a partner or significant other that does help keep that emotional balance in check. And then not only that, like as you go out and as you seek to date and look for a significant other, you tend to find yourself spending a lot of time in that effort and in that pursuit of finding the right partner. Spending the time on dating apps or on Facebook or going out on dates, those kind of things also take up a lot of time and energy. So having a stable relationship does help take away some of that quote unquote distractions and gives you more time to work on a business in some sense. And then on the flip side, like depending on where you are in a relationship, that might also change. Like obviously, if you're in the kind of honeymoon stages where you just met someone, you're courting them, you're trying to get them interested in you, you are sinking a lot of energy into pleasing that other person, coming across the right way, impressing them. You're going out on a lot of dates. You're spending probably quite a bit of money and time as well, and that could also be detrimental to the business if you're running something and you have to spend a lot of attention on something. And then as you start to settle down a bit, as you both become more comfortable with each other, maybe even if you haven't gotten married yet, but you start to get into a rhythm of understanding each other's schedule. You both have your own time, but also both set aside time for each other. Then I think that's really the sweet spot, I find, where you get a lot of that balance. You get to be pretty productive, because your he or she is away doing something else. Maybe they're working, maybe they're on building their own business, but then you have time to focus on yourself as well. And then I think that the next stage then in the relationship then is if you so choose to move on and have kids, then that's again like another learning experience for me as well. I find that has completely messed up your schedule. And when you have kids, you have no schedule, or there's no way for you to even have a meaningful schedule, at least for the first few months. Once the kid or child grows up a bit more, and once they're sleep trained, once they start to possibly even go to daycare, then you can start to get back into some sense of a rhythm. But what I found with having kids is that when I had kids, it was less about quote unquote work-life balance, and it was more about the term I'm learning now is more about work-life harmony, where you're starting to accept that it's okay to think about work while you're on personal time, or it's okay to set aside personal time in the middle of work as well. And not feel that that's a bad thing, or not feel that you're cheating or doing something wrong in that process. So in certain case, like I know, like let's say if I'm on a holiday, if I'm away, like it's not that you have to completely set strict boundaries and just like not think about business when you're on holiday. It's absolutely okay to want to work on business because business excites you and motivates you, right? So when you're away, that you're still finding that kind of harmony, that you're willing to be happy doing different things at different times. But I think at the end of the day, what's the most meaningful is just being present. So whether or not you're in that work mode, or whether or not you're in that relationship mode or that child caring mode as a parent, that you are present with the other person you're spending time with, or with your business, that you're fully present and kind of being mindful about how you tend to different things. That's at least what I've learned so far, in terms of kind of what it looks like in terms of setting the right boundaries or what to compromise on. Yeah, I don't know if that fully answers that.
Wow, that's awesome, because I'm learning from you as I'm listening, and that's why I say I admire you, because you're at another stage in life where you're dealing with all these new factors already. And I think relationship, as I experience it, I realize it's something you learn as you are in it. You don't create plans. Like for example, when I was in high school, my plan was focus, stay very focused, um, study really hard, and then when I have a relationship, it'll be very easy. But what you find out is that relationship introduces a lot of other components. Like for you have kids, and that kid starts that it changes the way you balance your work and the relationship. Now there's other factors. So I realized that relationship will always be a learning process. And as you alluded to, is you gotta kind of learn along the way. And with other factors, then you just learn to be present and intentional with how you spend your time. The funny thing is when I was going through this situation of like falling off my work balance, I actually seeked a mentor who I paid a lot of money just for that 1 hour session.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it was like with bread roast and it was like 5 grand per hour. And I really had to do it because I felt like he was someone I looked up to at that time. He had like many kids. I forgot the exact number, but he had a lot of kids and he was around our age. He was in his 30s and he was married and he runs a few very successful ventures. I even went to one of his events
Mhm.
and I asked him the same question, like, how do you balance both your work and your family? And similar to what you just mentioned, is you just gotta be very intentional and very present. So you're on that vacation, then you and your goal is to be very present with your family and your kids, then that time be very present with them. But when you work, be very present with your work too.
Mhm.
So the key is, like you said, being intentional and setting and being very present. But obviously this is where discipline comes in because it's hard for us with like you and I both relate because we both have big dreams and big goals. So even when we're with our family or we're with our friends, we might be thinking about, okay, how do I improve that content I just made? Or how do I find time later to work since I'm already like 3 hours into my time with my family? So you kind of in the back of your head, you're kind of planning, right? I'm having that challenge. So that's why I really want to learn from you as well, and also from others who are listening. How
Yeah.
do you, yeah, I heard about blocking your time or creating block
Yeah.
chunk of time
To
blocking something, but that doesn't work for me. So,
to kind of talk on that because I think it's an interesting topic too because like you mentioned you are kind of the person who operates on flow, like you need to get into
mhm.
that flow state, and once you're in
Yeah,
flow
that's the
state,
problem.
like you don't want to be doing anything else, and it's kind of sometimes in some cases you can't force that flow state as well.
Mhm.
I on the other hand am kind of your opposite because I'm
Oh,
the kind of schedule routine, I like to have structure around my days kind of person. But
mhm.
what I've started to learn over, especially the last few years with having kids and kind of dealing with an infant and changing diapers and them waking up at different odd hours kind of thing is um I'm finding that I need to just be more accepting and more patient with certain things nowadays. So what I mean by the patience there is um I'll give you one quick example. So over the holidays, my wife fell sick. So I had to spend a lot of time looking after the kids while she was busy tending to herself. And I think I just really had to let go the idea of that I need to be productive. I need to be productive. Because that did give me some amount of guilt. I felt like, it's November, December, I haven't been doing a lot of work. Like I haven't had time because like I can't go to the gym. I can't do any business work because when I'm tending to the kids, like you never know when the kid's gonna wake up. And if I'm
Mhm.
out at the gym, if the kid wakes up, then she can't look after the kid, right? So I had to sacrifice some of that and just be comfortable with it, knowing that, okay, that it's not going to be a permanent thing. Like once she gets back to normal, then I can operate normally again. So in my case, because I'm more of that structure guy, um, I just really learned a bit more to let go and just enjoy myself. So I spent most of that 2 months, catching up on playing games. So I
Mhm.
spent a bit more time on myself and read a lot of comics, played a lot of games. Not the most productive thing, but I think trying not to feel guilty about it and seeing it more as just like, hey, slow down a bit, be patient. You can still do all the things that you want to do. Um, and it's not to say that you will die the next day kind of thing, but you will still have some time to catch up. And as long as you are driven as a person, like that's not going to change about you. It's not like after I slack off for 2 months, I'm going to be a slacker forever kind of thing. So that's why I've tried to be more accepting about in terms of both myself.
Yeah, I think having patience and self-love and being kind to your expectations, even when you don't meet them, is really important. That's what I learned too along the way. But sure, I may have like lost some momentum with my work over the past 2 years or so.
Mhm.
But and also that traveling also caused me to lose momentum. But I think regardless of like whether the work part is seeing growth or not, you are growing in other areas. So you are
Mhm.
growing to be a better parent. For example, you taking care of your wife and playing games with your kids is something they will remember and be grateful for as the time comes. And you don't know how that's gonna pay off because in the future they might remember the time their dad kind of sacrifice his business to take care of them. And in exchange, they might work even hard to build a business that you're trying to build. Maybe they're gonna be an entrepreneur and doing better than you. So that's something you don't never know where the payoff is going to be. So in a way, by you being a better parent, it in a way grows the vision that you have for yourself too. Maybe it'll be vicariously through your kids, or maybe it will be for your wife. She'll be very grateful, and when she gets better, she'll take care of you and the kids even more. So same with me, like traveling, I felt like I wasted a lot. No, I wouldn't say I wasted time, like just traveling, but I feel like because I travel now, I'm back with the new vision and new
Mhm.
inspirations. And I just have to be kind to myself. Sure, the business dropped another 20% in terms of finances, but in terms of me as a person, I've grown my fire so much that I'm confident that I can grow this company to another level by the end of next year. I can definitely scale this to even a greater height simply because I've grown as a person and I've done the things that I really want to do. So seamless relationship, you can experience the cons, and I feel like it's helped me again. Like you mentioned, having a relationship that's stable gives you a sense of support, a sense of emotional comfort when during your
Mhm.
difficult times, right? When
Mhm.
you're not in a relationship, you do have like things that kind of waste your time in a sense, like depression, anxiety, that might hold you back from like doing the productive things, right? So I think in the end of the day, it really is just being kind to yourself too, because you never know. As long as you're trying your best, you are growing and impacting your environment in one way or another, and those things comes back to you. So
Mhm. And yeah, it's not to say that if you're in a relationship, you never fall into depression. I've definitely been through
oh
some amount of anxiety and depression over time as well.
yeah,
But yeah, I
it
think
has
mhm,
uh, it has to be the right relationship for sure.
for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just being cognizant of time, I think this is pretty much where we can wrap it up. I don't know if there were any specific lessons learned coming out of this. I felt like there was too many for me to really keep track of.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed kind of just talking a bit about it and kind of hearing your perspective of it and having you kind of dissect my perspective of what I've been through as well. So thanks for taking the time. It was a lot of fun talking about this. And yeah, I think we can wrap up. Any final words that you have?
Oh no, I want to say thank you to you as well for having me as a guest. Even though this is my first podcast, I had a really good time. You were a great facilitator. You asked all the great questions. I hopefully it can provide value to our viewers who are still staying until this last bit of hour. So I'm also grateful that you also share with me your advice, your experiences, and I'm learning as well. So I would love to do more with you in the future if there's an opportunity. And I hope that over time, like we can continue to inspire people because we do this so we can share our experiences for people who might be going through a similar situation and they want someone else to kind of relate to them so they can feel validated. And for me, that was a big part of the reason I built Psych2Go is to find people who were going through similar situations.
Mhm.
And apparently there are millions of people, and that's why we grew it to the way it did. So
Yes, thank you, Tai, for being generous enough to share both your time and your wisdom. I'm curious if people want to learn more about Psych2Go, what's the best place to go? Is it the YouTube channel or the website?
the best way is, I mean, like we're on YouTube, right? So we have so many videos all the way from relationships to psychology to mental health. So you can just always type out a topic that you are curious about and put the hashtag with Psych2Go. You should be able to find any videos around that topic. If there's none, just shoot Chin or myself a message and maybe that could be content.
Great. So yeah, if anyone is looking to learn more about Psych2Go, it's PSYCH and then the number 2 and then Geo, Psych2Go. Look it up on YouTube or you can just search it up on Google as well. All right, thank you,
Mhm.
Tai, for your time. I think we will wrap up here.
Yep, thanks, Chin. It's so amazing to talk to you.